Hello, Angela. Right, how can we sort this problem out for you? I think the first thing we need to do is establish if your screen has been calibrated. Do you have a calibration device that you hang on the front of your screen and it checks the colours? Because that's really the first step in getting a fully calibrated workflow and ensuring that your colours are accurate. Because if you haven't done that, then the colours you're seeing on your screen aren't going to be representative of the colours that are actually in the file. So I've got an iMac here and this screen is calibrated, so I know that these colours here are accurate. And this is an image I just took over the weekend for a client of mine. So one thing we can do as well is in Photoshop, let's make sure you've got Photoshop set up correctly. So I'm in Photoshop here, I've gone to File, it's not File Info, it's Colour Settings, down under the Edit menu. And we have this screen that comes up here. Now, working space, Lightroom works in Pro Photo, which is the biggest colour space we have. So I've set here working spaces. When I'm in the RGB working space in Photoshop, I'm working in Pro Photo RGB. This click down menu here can give you a choice of colour spaces to work in. So I always pick the biggest, which is Pro Photo. The rest of them here you don't need to worry about so much. Our next box, Colour Management Policies, I think it's best to have Preserve Embedded Profiles ticked in all of them. Again, it's a drop-down box. Tick those. And the conversion options, Adobe ACE, and the rendering intent is Relative Colorimetric. There's only two as a photographer that we need to worry about, and one's Relative Colorimetric and the other is Perceptual. So I tick Relative Colorimetric. So once we have all those settings correctly input in Photoshop, that should help our workflow a little bit more. So if you've done that, we'll then click on OK. So we have an image here that's open and we can play about doing edits to it. This is just out of camera, I've done nothing to this. But before I turn it into a JPEG, if we come up to the menu bar and we go in View, we have Proof Setup. This is to soft proof our image. So click on Custom and Device to Simulate. What we want to do is come down to the sRGB, and you were quite right last night, it is IEC 61966-2.1. And we have Relative Colorimetric ticked again in our rendering intent. So if we click that, we're now getting a soft proof as we're going to see it on the internet using the sRGB colour space. So we go into View again, and another thing we have here is Gamut Warning. So if we tick that, watch what happens to the image. Can you see down here we've got grey patches appearing on the chili? That is telling me that these areas that are greyed out in Photoshop are out of the sRGB colour space. So these are out of gamut colours. These are ones which won't convert into sRGB accurately. Everything else is fine, it's just this grey area here. So how can we bring that into gamut? Well, the way I do it is I come up to my hue saturation layer, click on that, click on my little finger icon and click on the grey area. And obviously that's telling us that it's the reds that are out of gamut. So there's two ways we can bring those into gamut. We can reduce the saturation, and as I reduce that, you see how they come in and out of gamete. So we only have to go down a little bit. What are we there? -8, and we've got rid of a lot of that grey area. Also have a play about with the lightness slider. Do we have to go lighter? Oh yes, we've just gone lighter and we've got rid of a lot more. So we're -8 on the saturation, +5 on the lightness, on the reds, and we've brought a lot of that back into gamete. So we can go around again and do exactly the same again to bring the rest of it in. The reason why I don't do it all in one go is I'll show you that now. We'll reduce a little bit more, 3 points, and they're all in gamete now. So what I'll do is if I fill my layer mask with black, these have come back into gamete, I can paint on just those areas with white, just those grey areas there. So I'm not desaturating the whole red chili, I'm just desaturating the area that's out of gamete. And we can do that as much as we like. In fact, we can come back to this area and fill that full of black. There's our whole chili out of gamete, and we can just paint in the areas. So we're not losing saturation on the whole chili, we're just losing saturation on the areas that are out of gamete. Okay, I'm just continuing to paint around here. Now you might find in some of your images that there are lots of colours that are out of gamete. And all we do is do another hue saturation layer for each individual colour, and then fill our mask full of black and just paint over the areas that are out of gamete. That way we can leave the saturated colours that are in gamete and we're not losing everything. So reds are particularly prone to going out, but also yellows. And by doing it this way, we can see the ginger here is yellow, but that's in gamete. But there's a little bit of yellow in the green bit of the chili. Another hue saturation layer. Click on the area so we can see it's yellow. Just by desaturating it, and this I've increased the lightness. Can you see how the ginger's now gone really pale? Well, if we hide our adjustment layer with black and then just paint on the tip of the chili with white, we are now restricting the out of gamete just to the green bit of the chili and leaving the ginger alone. So now we've brought all those colours into gamete. I'll flatten my image, I'll resize it, edit, image size 72, 800 by linear, knock that down, oops, that's at 100%. I will just make a copy. In fact, I won't waste too much time, I'll use this sharpening program. You see it goes up, over sharpens it. And the sharpening has actually brought some images out of gamete. But I think that's too strong, so I'll reduce that a bit. Okay. I'm not going to adjust these colours because it's just the sharpening that's brought them out of gamete, so I'll just paint on that. And just mean that it's not going to be sharpened as much as the rest of the image, and that's enough to bring these colours back into gamut. You don't have to get rid of every single bit of grey, just the bits that, just the main areas. So there we go. Flatten that down again. There's our image ready for the internet. The last thing I do is edit, convert to profile, and there's the sRGB IEC 61966-2.1. There's the Adobe ACE conversion engine, and the rendering intent is relative colorimetric, which is what we set under edit at the beginning. Click OK, and I didn't see anything change in that one. So that's how I do it. Have a look at that, Amanda, see how it differs from your workflow, and let me know if it helps or not. Okay, Amanda, thank you.